Um, Welcome everyone. I'm Sushmita. I'm from ODA, and thank you for joining us here at the window seat. It's great to have all of you here, and it's a great opportunity to be here and really hear from Mohan and have a conversation with him. I'll soon introduce Mohan to all of you. But just to give you a short overview, because some of you probably have not been to window seat before, some of you may have come before. Window seat is a really rare opportunity that we at ODA are happy to provide or offer to all of you for all of us to learn together from some of the leaders who have been in the industry for a long time and who've made an impact in the industry in a way which needs some sort of talking about and understanding because leaders have their different styles, leaders make different kinds of impact. And often we tend to see leadership through one or two different lenses, but not through such diverse lenses. So many different leaders coming here and talking about who they are as people, what does leadership mean to them, how have they been able to lead with a sense of clarity and conviction in a corporate landscape, which is always so um, ever evolving, unpredictable, and sometimes very, very complex. And today we have the pleasure of having Mohan with us. And what has stood out for me about Mohan, and I've worked with Mohan and his leadership team, and I was very, very touched by his leadership for the fact that he really came across as first as a human being more than as a leader. And he led from that space of being somebody very authentic, somebody who really cares for his team and his people, somebody who is very empathic. While we hear a lot of leaders talking about these qualities and trying to do those, I have not seen many who are able to really, just be that, be those qualities to their team. And I've seen that in Mohan, and I was really happy when Mohan agreed to be a part of this and share his journey with us. And when it comes to the topic itself, servant leadership, I don't think there's anybody better than Mohan who can actually talk about it because I've literally seen him embody it. And one of the things that I've heard Mohan talk about with his team, leadership team, when that workshop was happening with him and his team was how he usually every noon he has lunch at the cafeteria. Mohan, I'm not sure if it was a cafeteria, but I that's what I remember. At the cafeteria, he would just sit at a table and he would just encourage anybody to come and sit and have lunch with him so that he gets to know them just as people beyond their work and everything. And it can be anybody, somebody who's newly joined the organization or somebody who's been there for a while. But that was his time where he really was curious and wanted to know and make a connection with people who he would not generally work with. They probably are not his direct reportees, but people who are in the organization, who is a part of his ecosystem. He really genuinely wanted to know them. And that was really remarkable because I remember when he mentioned that not everybody in his small team was comfortable with the idea of offering themselves so much. But to him, it seemed such an easy thing to do. And it struck to me as something remarkable. So great to have Mohan here and for him to share with us what his leadership journey has been and why does he advocate for servant leadership? What does it mean? And, yeah. So Mohan, over to you. Thanks so much for being here. It's lovely to have you here, and I'm really looking forward to this one. And I'm hoping that all the audience over here are able to hear as well. I'm going to pass the mic to you, and yeah, there you go.
Wow, that's quite an introduction. I don't know whether I deserve all that. But good afternoon, everyone. And it's such a joy and pleasure to meet each one of you and those who may see the recording of this. It is absolutely my privilege to share my own journey. But a couple of things which I want to say up front. Um, the journey of every leader is different, right? I'm going to share my journey and what I have learned from the leaders I came across and what I have also unlearned about myself as well. So I'll just share my experiences, my leadership journey, pick up whatever is relevant, and you can drop anything which you feel is not necessarily you align with. But let me go back without getting into the details. I come from a very small town in Andhra. So I didn't have much exposure growing up. I didn't even know what leadership is until it was thrusted on me. So while in the school, you heard about school captains and all that, did a little bit here and there. But really the first leadership that was thrusted on me was when I was 17 years old, when out of nowhere, I was nominated as the captain of under 22 cricket team for the district. I was not even expecting to be in the team, and here I was. Somebody saw something in me and gave me the captaincy. And added to that, I was the youngest member in the team. Everybody is older than me. Just imagine my plight. And guess what? I've royally goofed it up. So that is my leadership baptism by fire. And that's when I realized, okay, leadership is something else than just a position. But that was my early impression of leadership. Then I joined a government bank called Canada Bank when I was 20 years old. And since then, last 30, 35 years, I've been working. I can really say my leadership can be put into two different distinct phases of almost equal tenure. I know some of my ex-colleagues are here, and some of them will resonate what I'm saying. And for those who don't know me, this may come as something new. So clearly, there are two parts of my leadership journey. And the good news is I was successful in both. But I will also share what made the difference in terms of the servant leadership. But first phase of my life came, a lot of learnings came from me as a cricket player. I played for the bank for a number of years. Sport teaches you a lot. So I did pick up a lot of things from my cricket journey early on. But I was working in a set of Indian banks. I worked in 4 different banks in the first 10, 11 years, where including a government bank, where meritocracy doesn't necessarily is the real factor. You need to do other things to please your boss and all that. So to be honest, I didn't really get much of success during my 10, 11 years of my early career. But added to that, instead of blaming somebody else for my lack of growth, I blame it on myself because I was this young man who's a sports player. I had my utopian worldview of how others should be and less self-awareness of how I should be. Added to that, I also had quite strong-headed views about a lot of things. So, which doesn't really go well with a lot of leaders during that time. I'm talking about 90s. So, which means my career progression was not great as a leader as well as otherwise. But real growth happened when I joined HSBC back in 2000 to set it up. I happened to be the first manager, and rest is history. Really, I had a phenomenal growth in just 5 years. So from nowhere, I catapulted to a very senior role in 5 years flat. I was given promotions, never applied for one. Suddenly, I felt something has really hit me hard for no good reason. And before the realization came, I kind of got into this servant leadership program, which I'll talk a little bit later. But what I want to really share is a couple of stories, couple of really key moments during that first phase, where I did have phenomenal success in the later part of that first phase. I attended some of the best leadership programs the world offers, including Harvard, London Business School, and all that, where they teach you uh, what to do, how the leaders should be, those kind of a stuff, which is all good in theory, but somehow I felt it is not necessarily very sustainable. But the two stories I want to share from that journey is one of my boss, who was a Britisher, who was from UK, and so I got promoted, as I mentioned, and she asked me to move from Hyderabad to Bangalore to set up the center here. And I came, and as a courtesy, I wrote her an email saying that, okay, thank you so much for the confidence you had in me. I'll do my best. That's all. That's a courtesy mail I gave. But I will never, ever forget the response she wrote back. And the reason I'm sharing is some of you are young, budding leaders, even if you are not very young. This is the principle, right? And she said, Mohan, you not only deserve your promotion, you have so much potential in you that one day I want to see you grow where I can work under you. Okay, hopefully you got that. She saw so much of potential in me. One day she wanted to work under me. That is the quality of a leader who can see potential in others. And not only that, but has the humility to say so, right? And I haven't seen that in myself. But true to her word, 10 years later, that's exactly what happened. Okay. So all credit to her. And I want to be that kind of a leader who can see potential in others and really pull them up, even if that means they will go well past me. So that's the first great learning. The second one in the same organization, I didn't apply for this role. As I mentioned, all the roles which I did came to me, and he was newly recruited, very seasoned consulting guru, and he was setting up this transformation team. And he reached out saying that, look, I heard so much good things about you. I want to you to consider joining my team. And he's a typical consultant, and he made a presentation to me to convince me to join him. And halfway through the presentation, uh, I stopped him and said that, look, I don't even understand what you are saying. Everything which you said going over my head. I think you are talking to the wrong person. I'm sorry, I don't think I'm the right person for this role. And I don't think many people would say that, but I've said that. And then he said, no, 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 I know I'm speaking to the right person. If you are not convinced, come over to Hyderabad, let's meet and we'll talk. And I thought he will explain something. And all he said was, look, this is the kind of a role you need to do. I believe you can do it. Go and try it out for a month. If you don't really like it, you can always go back to your current role. And that's it. He didn't say anything else, what to do, how to do. The reason I'm telling you this story is I will never ever forget that year. This was 2006. I didn't know where to start, where to end. And my boss traveled 3 weeks a month. I managed to travel the other week. We hardly met each other. At the end of the year, and I was so fulfilled. I didn't know what I've accomplished, but I was rated #1 across the group as the highest performer. The reason I'm saying that is sometimes others, a good leader sees what you are capable of, which you cannot see yourself. So that's what good leaders do. And that's another thing which I have heard. And you need to trust people, you need to empower people to get the best out of it. So that's one of the best roles I have done. And so these are the two things which stick to my memory and as great principles one can learn, and I have learned. And I was able to put it into practice in the second phase of my leadership journey. Fast forward, I mentioned about the programs I went through, but real servant leadership thing hit me hard when I went to Singapore in 2009 to attend this workshop being facilitated by the 1 Minute manager, Ken Blanchard, who at that time was one of the top 10 management gurus in the world. I never met him, and I just went there. And everything I had learned previously was really kind of looked very small, and I really understood what true leadership is. And this is simply put, leadership is an influence process. It is not about the position or the title, it is about influence. And I really had a very different perspective since then about the role of a leader, who leader is, and how it works. And that was my defining moment. And that's what I want to really share rest of this session all about. But maybe a couple of things before I kind of pause. I've been talking for the last 10 minutes now. I think two things which I've learned from there is not only leadership is the influence process, anyone who seek to influence three things, which is the thinking, behavior, and development of others, is a leader. So by that definition, almost everybody falls into the leadership category. So it is not reserved for exclusive elite people. That's number one. Number two is the clarity it gave me is about this constant battle between what is leadership and what is management. And I love Ken because he makes complex things simple. And this is what he said: leadership and management are two sides of the same coin. Leadership is all about vision and direction, which is important. But what's the point in having vision and direction if you are not able to translate into execution? So management is the second important part of execution. And he simply put, the typical hierarchy in leadership is right for the first part. But in the second part, when you get into execution, the role of a leader changes to upside down pyramid. The leader needs to be at the bottom and the employees should be at the top. I think that's really what really impacted me most. And I'm glad to say in the last 15 years, I was able to test it out in various settings and was able to get the best results than ever before. Before I close this part, I want to say before you ask that question, so what's the difference between the first part of leadership and second part? Because I said in both the cases I was successful. In the first part, it gave me a lot of success. The results were fantastic, recognition was fantastic. In the second part, it is beyond success. There is a book called Good to Great, where Jim Collins talks about moving from success to significance. I think that's what the second part, servant leadership, gave me is the legacy we can leave and the impact we can make goes beyond results. And the difference is it impacts people. And when it impacts people deeply, and they become successful, your success becomes multiplied. And that's what is the significance of servant leadership. So with that, I'll kind of a pause and so that we don't go into a monologue. Sushmita, over to you.
Thanks, Mohan. Wow, there was so much to take from there. So I'm sort of thinking, what exactly should I ask? Because so many questions in my head. But it was beautiful. I love the stories that you've shared because they kind of really highlight some of the important things about leadership, which is, I think, the biggest thing which, for me, that you started with about really growing other leaders, right? What I heard you say is that you had leaders who actually saw the leader in you and allowed you to become the natural leader that you are. And that is really the fundamental foundation of a good leader to grow more capable leaders. And I feel like the connection from there to servant leadership that you made was in terms of as a leader, you lead, you give direction, vision, but also the way you grow your people. You are at the bottom. It's a upside down pyramid where you are the support system that actually grows your people. Was that the connection, Mohan, in a way?
And I'm happy to kind of explain a little
Yeah.
more, if you allow me. So if you see the typical hierarchy is, okay, this is the vision, this is why we are here, and these are the values, and hence we need to do it this way. That part is a one-time effort. You wouldn't cast vision throughout, right? So then what after casting the vision, what happens to the leader? How do we translate that vision into execution? So in the reverse pyramid, what happens in the first typical hierarchy, the leader is at the top, is responsible for casting the vision. Okay. And the people underneath the leader need to respond to the vision. Okay, so the role of a leader and the follower is very clear. Leader responsible for casting the vision, follower is responsible for responding to the vision of the organization. Now, that is the first part. Second part, the reverse pyramid is the leader needs to now take responsibility of helping the followers to meet the vision. And it can be done in 5 ways for the benefit of easy memory. I'm going to talk about 5 E's the servant leader needs to do. First of all, equipping people. Are people equipped to deliver? Second thing is enabling the people. The environment, the culture needs to be enabling. The person needs to be given all the tools and the systems and all that to be successful. Third one is engaging the people. Because many times I'm more than convinced people on the ground have better ideas, better solutions than the leader at the top. And the more you engage them and have that humility to listen to them, and so that you will get better ideas in engaging them, and thereby they can give better results. The fourth one, which I fail most often as a leader, is encouragement. What really fuels people to perform to their best is an encouragement. All of us need encouragement. I can be very critical because I want excellence, but a little bit of encouragement can actually give us better results and excellence as well. The final one, which is equally important, is empowerment. You need to trust your people, you need to empower your people, knowing very well sometimes they will make a mistake. I think it's wrong to think for a leader that the leader is not always right. Leaders also make a mistake. It is okay for followers to make a mistake. But empowerment, what it does is it really kind of gets the best out of the people, and also the organization gets benefited. So many times the leader doesn't do these 5 things and typically sits on the top and gives instructions, but the leader need to set the example, be on the ground doing these 5 things to really build great team. In the process, what happens is they're building future leaders who will really become better than you.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really, it sounds like an ideal situation, right? And it's a lot of hard work for any leader to really get there. And when you're saying this, I've seen you do this, and at the same time also thinking that when people are reporting into you, when you have a small leadership team that is reporting into you, not everybody is going to believe in this kind of leadership. In fact, on the contrary, most people believe in the opposite type of leadership, which is more authoritative and more directive and more hierarchical. So how have you managed? And I'm sure you have found that challenge as well, that, everybody you are leading and trying to empower in a way that they become servant leaders. It's not been completely openly accepted for various reasons, for the challenges they feel that, if servant leadership might not work, kind of a mindset as well. How have you managed or handled such a challenge in developing your leaders, or, for them to sort of start practicing something like this within the organization?
I think great question, Sushmita. Can't agree more. And that's the reality, right? I think the point here is servant leadership may not give you immediate results. It is about choosing short-term versus long-term, right? Now, if you are operating out of position and authority, it may give you immediate results, but not necessarily sustainable results. So one of the key of servant leadership is, in a typical leadership hierarchy, results matter than anything else. Results matter more than relationship. And servant leadership doesn't mean relationship matter more than results. It is about both results and relationships. You can get better results only through people, not trampling over people. But coming back to your question, how do I deal? The first thing is I need to be convinced about what I'm doing is right or not, right? If it is right, I go first. Servant leadership is not easy. It is sacrificial. Okay, which means you're putting your neck out there, right? And you're going first, right? When some risk is high, you are going there, putting your neck up. Okay, I'll take that risk. Let me do it. And in the process, there is a price you pay. But that is nothing compared to the benefits you're going to get in long term. I'll give you a couple of examples, and don't want to give away too much. There are at least two occasions in my career where I have to make myself redundant to do the right thing. Okay. And that's a significant price to pay. So you cannot impose servant leadership on others, and that's not servant leadership. You can influence your leadership on others. So really try to understand the difference between both. The first one is, okay, this is the way you lead. Second one is, I choose this way and I will explain why it is. And it is up to you to follow or not. So what I have done in most of the cases is I I chose to be a servant leader, willing to pay the price for the benefit of the organization and its culture for a long-term gain. And this is what I want to say. 9 out of 10 times you win. There may be once you may not win. That's the first point. The second point is, it is not, I'm not saying here, this is the only way you need to lead, right? There are different ways one can lead, and it is normally driven by the motive of the individual. If I want a quick promotion, if I want something for me, I will be leading out of what I believe in. Okay. And the distinct difference in servant leadership is the self needs to die. It is all about others. Your focus is on not on you and how I can make others look good. So when you are operating out of that, you are constantly, even in the scenario you have mentioned, you're constantly looking at how can I help others develop better, do better, and over a period of time they will see and they get convinced.
And I think when that focus on how can I make others look better or do better, oneself grows as well, right? As a leader, you also grow and you also start looking better and doing better, because then it becomes like a whole. Or is it that you are constantly only focusing on other people, so somewhere you are compromising on your own vision? Is that
Yeah,
own vision, as in, yeah, is that what it is?
you're spot on. Okay. This is a statement I've made several times in my office setting. When you make development of others the priority, you develop yourself. Okay. So clearly there is a return on your investment, right? By investing in others, you are getting better. That's number one. The organizational results become better because everybody is winning in the ecosystem. Okay. So you're creating a culture where everybody, it's not about me developing my directs. They get developed only if they invest in their directs. So it is a ripple effect. So overall, when that happens, everybody wins in this. And that's the power of a servant leadership, focusing on others. But more importantly, it brings a culture where it is a safe environment where people are not comparing how am I doing compared to others, right? The worst thing that can happen is comparison. Comparison is toxic. When you are comparing, you are likely to pull somebody down for you to go up. So you break that, and we are saying, okay, how can we help one another to become better, where everybody wins? So I'll give an example of Ken Blanchard gives this example because he's a professor. And he said, I go to my class, give them all the answers before giving the question paper. And people take objection to that. Why you are doing it? He said, I want everybody to get grade A, right? His focus is how can I help others win, right? Obviously, in a right manner. He's not saying, okay, by cheating and all that. So I want to help people to learn to win rather than putting a competitive test saying that only one will get this position. So everybody can win in their own ways.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, these are some of the things that, in my workshops with leadership teams that I talk about, and there's sometimes a lot of resistance. That's where that question came from, and to hear you say that you've practiced it and this works, it's really wonderful. I mean, it's just a testament to the fact that if you have the right attitude and the mindset about growing together, it is really possible, and it really is something that's worked for you. I want to open it to the audience, but one more question before that. Have you seen that when you've practiced this and you have encouraged other people to practice it without imposing it on them, but influencing them to practice it? Have you seen that it has actually, your organization largely was influenced by the whole thing? Has it created such a large impact in a way that people in the organization actually felt uh, the impact of such a leadership?
Definitely. And again, what I want to caution Sushmita is not always you will see the results immediately, right? The seed you sow will get the fruit much later. I'll give you one quick example. And this is very innocuous example. I told you about this HSBC experience. Those days it is very new. And there was a guy who was a fresher when I was a AVP or something. And he left the company, I left the company. After 10 years, he gives me a call. I don't know where he got my number. He said, I want to meet you. Are you available for a cup of coffee? I said, sure, let's meet. So we met. And I remember him, though, as I said, that he's much junior, he's a fresher. This is what he said. In that company, I was called Pat. Mohan was my first name, but they called me Pat. He said, this is what he said. Look, I always looked at you as a role model. And I have watched you all these years, how you've led. So I just want to thank you for being the role model. I was totally taken aback. So I didn't even do anything. And he brought nice gift and all that. Then he told this story. He moved the company, and that company in the induction, the facilitator asked, who is your role model? Write it down. And he wrote my name. And interestingly, that facilitator knew me. I said, how come he's your role model? Did you ever work with him? I said, yeah, he recruited me, but I watched him. Right? And this is the example he gave, why he considered. Apparently, he was unhappy with his appraisal. And the protocol is you go up, skip level and all that. He took time with me, and I gave him time. And we had two offices there. And on that day, 12 o'clock was the meeting. I was in another office and I got delayed. So I just called. Those days, mobiles are not allowed on the floor. I called my desk phone, hoping that he'll be there. Sure enough, he was there, and I called him and said, look, I'm sorry, I'm running late. Just give me 10 minutes, I'll be there. And I came, and it was a normal conversation. The fact that I called him made such an impression on him. Since then, he was watching everything which I say, everything which I do, and I didn't even realize that. So the point I'm making is people watch us, and what makes the difference, Sushmita, is over a period of time, whether what we say and what we do matches or not, people will clearly see it through. Authenticity will come only over a period of time. You can put a facade and make up the things. Another very innocuous, why I'm saying people are watching is, I remember this is in my last organization. There was a senior leadership team, and there is a panel discussion because by virtue of you are the center head, you need to be given a seat. They gave me. My boss was there. My boss's boss was there. So I kept a little quiet and all that. So questions came and all that. Much later, one of the senior guy came to me and he said this, Mohan, you know what I like about you? And you see what he was observing. You came dressed up the same way, even on that day when your boss and boss's boss was there, they were all in their suits. You still came the way you come on every other day, and you are still comfortable. You see, that's not what you would be even thinking what you wear and all that. You go what you feel like. You don't dress up because somebody else is there, your boss is there. I think the reason I'm giving those examples is people watch us all the time, and it is scary that if you are saying something wrong, they're watching that as well. They form opinion. You are influencing people both positively and negatively all the time.
Yeah, what I'm hearing you say is that small little things matter. It's not always the large things that matter about leadership. I mean, I think the congruence in your walking the talk is really important.
Yeah.
And you are able to influence when you really are walking the talk. I mean, influence then happens automatically because people are there. I see Dheeraj has a question, and I'm going to give him the mic. And others also, after Dheeraj, if you have questions, please feel free to take the mic and ask Mohan what you want to know.
Thanks, Shusha, and thanks, Mohan. After a long time hearing you, it's so good to hear again about servant leadership and especially the more insights from you. So, Mohan, as a leadership, what was the primary motivating factor for you to come into this field of leadership? You mentioned about cricket and how you started as a captain role. But I seen you like always quite engaged, energetic. Even during lunchtime, you are utilizing each and every minute by knowing more about the other people. I remember during COVID time how much active you were. Sometime even say, even if I feel myself, I need to give others also opportunity to ask question. But just a quick one. Even if I imagine myself, say I have some role and COVID situation is there when I am setting up a office, I will first panic. What should do I do? But how we seen so much calm person and who is always motivated to motivate others and develop the leaders. Any insights on same?
Yeah. Thanks, Dheeraj, for your kind words. I think over a period of time, I realized what matters most in life, right? Obviously, in the recent past, some of you know what I went through. What matters most in life is people. And if one thing COVID taught us more than anything else is the value of relationships, right? Clearly, that was the case. If that be the case, it is the people which motivate me, right? Why do I meet people over lunch, right? Let me tell you again, it goes back to the principle I mentioned. You learn a lot from people. This is the second best learning opportunity I had. The other one is, again, those of you who do not know me, I haven't really gone to big business schools or colleges to learn. Most of my learning happened during interviews. I have interviewed over 20,000 people. When you are interviewing, you ask any question and you learn about the companies they come from, about them as the individuals and all that. Same thing in the lunch meetings. You understand why people behave the way they behave. Many times we label people as XYZ based on what you see. That's what I love about this program. It is about the person behind that behavior, right? So when you really understand that, what really energizes me is to know about people and what drives them, what puts them down, and all those things. And the best part of motivation is if during that half an hour lunch conversation, you can leave a word of encouragement to them, it lifts them up. This is what I've learned from one of my dear friends. You know what he said? Because people look at you based on your position. Oh, Mohan is super busy. That is not true, right? Everybody is busy, right? It is not only the leader who is busy, everybody is busy. But this is what he said. You know, Mohan, a short WhatsApp message from you to people makes a world of difference in their lives. I will never forget, which is true. And since then, another kind of a habit, every day morning I pray and spend some time with God, and I recollect two or three people as God puts in my mind, and I pray for them and I send a small message. And these are the people who over a period of so many years you are in touch, their work colleagues or anybody, and that would go when they least expect. They wouldn't expect Mohan taking time and giving this. And what does it cost me? Maybe 2 minutes. What does it give to them? A lot. Their day is made. So never ever underestimate the difference you can make in others' life by a simple word of encouragement lifts people up, because we are in a world where everybody is trying to pull others down, right? Dog eat dog culture and rat race. I think that's what I've learned, and that's what motivates me.
Thanks, Mohan.
Thanks, Mohan. Anybody else who has a question? I think there are a couple of comments in the chat box that I want to also read it, but I think Cecilia has opened her mic. So I'm going to give you the mic, Cecilia, and then we'll read the chat.
Yeah, thanks, Sushmita. Hi, Pat. Nice to be on this
Hi.
call. And, like they say, history repeats. I've always admired your leadership and happy to be on this webinar with you. Always admired your leadership style. So servant leadership, what you have practiced, is something that I have seen and witnessed. I would just like to know, what challenges have you faced, while we've seen that you have practiced this. What are the challenges that you have faced while implementing servant leadership, which you came across and you dealt with those?
Yeah. So I think there are plenty. First of all, good to see you here, but there are plenty of challenges, right? So I think, Sushmita, you said it well. The world goes in one direction, which is operates out of power and position, right? But servant leadership is in the opposite direction. So clearly, there is always this tension. Okay. Now, sometimes you get away with it by virtue of your role. Okay. There are certain decisions that always remain with you, right? Again, most of the GCCs operate like that. I don't want to really reference to the last one only, but most of the GCCs, your leadership team doesn't report to you. Okay, they report to somebody, and you need to kind of take them along. So obviously there will always be tensions in difference of opinions. Okay, but somebody needs to take a decision. So as a servant leader, you can't escape taking the decision, right? But how you take is what matters. So many times you need to spend a little bit more time to listen to people. I think what I have realized is most of the time people want to be heard, right? When you listen well, and most of the time, and you make them speak more and also ask them probing questions, they get the answer. You don't need to make a decision. But a lot of times I just listen and I just smile. 8 out of 10 times people get the message. We know what Mohan is saying, right? But there will be times when you will be rejected or you will be pushed back. So those things will happen, and one needs to be prepared for that. Again, the question is why you do what you do. Okay. You don't necessarily always need to win. You don't need to always need to have the last word. Sometimes it is okay to let the other person to have the last word, even as a leader. I'll give you one example. Again, I will not name the organization, right? This is during COVID time, and we are all, obviously, everybody's going through this thing. So my secretary was very upset. And she got into the call just screaming at me. She screamed so loudly. My wife and my daughter came knocking the door saying that, who is that lady screaming at? So I have to say, okay, don't worry, everything is fine. And I told her, look, I don't think we can continue this conversation. We will connect again. And I paused this thing. And later I didn't say anything to her, didn't take any action. Okay. I could have actually fired her for that episode. Why I didn't do is, it is not normal for somebody to behave that way because there is no provocation, no reason. So always a servant leader gives that benefit to the other person. Why did he or she behave in certain way? So that's what is about thinking about others. Look at what he or she might have gone through to come with this kind of a behavior, because that is not a normal behavior. So if I'm reacting the way she reacted, then what's the difference between us? After a week, she realized and she said this: I was waiting for you to fire me. The very fact that you didn't say any single word, I don't know how to even say sorry now. Okay. 9 out of 10 times when people make a mistake, they will realize they made a mistake. It is powerful to let it go, even when you're right. That is the power of it. You don't need to always rub it in. And again, these are the things which I have learned. How often we would say, did I not say so? You don't need to say that, because people will realize. You don't need to rub it in. So a bit of extending that grace helps in overcoming the challenges. Servant leadership is not easy and soft. It is tough. It is not for faint-hearted. So that's what I've learned.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Sushmita.
I would say that it's not for the fragile-hearted. I think you really need a strong heart for a servant leadership to practice. You have a lot of love in the chat box, Mohan. A lot of people are talking about people who have been and worked with you. So I think there's a lot that's happening in the chat box. There's also a question. I think Divya has posted the question, but she's posted it to me in the direct message, so you probably can't see it. So I'll read it out to you.
Sure.
Hello, Mohan. Glad to be a part of this session. My question is, we sometimes have to drive an organizational decision that may contradict with our own belief. Have you ever experienced this? And if yes, how have you navigated through something like this?
Big time. It happens. I think the fact is, you need to accept that's going to happen, right? Remember one thing, there will be things where you don't agree with the organization's decision or approach. I remember in one of the organizations, for some weird reason, their operating model is you fire at least 2,500 people every year, only to rehire another 2,500 people. And I said, look, this is crazy. 3 years I've been there. Every year, this is the drama that happens. That is the operating model. I said, look, I don't subscribe to it, but sometimes that is not your decision. But what is my decision is, how can I make it slightly better? It is hard when you are sacking people, right? But how you do it? Typically, people do it in the wrong way, right? You make them look like bad performers. You make them look like they're not warranted. So I've taken a different approach. Look, this is the reality. Business dynamics change, and business reality is this is what we need to do. But it doesn't make you any less, right? First, you need to really acknowledge it is a business decision, and you need to differentiate from the person that is impacted. So it is about how you go about it, and you make genuine effort, how you can help them find the next job and what all the things you can do. I think what I've learned is being transparent without really taking side is the important thing. Because in leadership, you need to give bad news. Businesses fail, businesses change. So you need to learn. I think the biggest learning there is every person is precious, every person is unique, and they have their kind of a positives as well as negatives. You differentiate that. Don't really impose that and make people look bad. I think that's how you navigate. The other things like DEI always will be there. And I've taken those stands that I believe in inclusion. Anything which is exclusive is not inclusive. So I have made my views because I don't subscribe to a particular point of view. But for me, my point of view of inclusion goes the highest. Once you are saying you are inclusive, you should not call out anything as different, right? So that settles the matter. But I tried my best to give my point of view and stayed away what I don't subscribe. And I think there is a way to do it. Again, you don't need to do it in a demeaning way, and never ever make people look bad for business decisions. Business decisions are business decisions. They happen. Try to explain. But sometimes you cannot explain because there are emotions involved if somebody is losing their job. And be real. You don't need to sugarcoat it. No matter whatever way you sugarcoat, they still don't have a job.
Great. There are a couple of more questions in the chat box, but I know that Renuka has also raised her hand. So Renuka, do you want to take the mic and ask the question that you have?
Thanks, Sushmita. Hi, Pat. Again, I know you as Pat. I was a part of erstwhile UBS. Never worked with you directly, but yeah, I've seen your leadership in action. Know Uma and all others who worked very closely. So very glad to listen to you again. So I mean, I agree with whatever you said, and I was a part of Dr. Wade's team, so learning was first for us. I handle a very big team now, about 100 plus members. I head HR for Concentrix. The question I had was, um, I mean, I can't agree more that, you know, leadership is all about, you know, that vision, direction, but management and execution, like you said, becomes the most important part. Um, at the same time, we are in this world where we are not given that time to coach, you know, I mean, building rapport, of course, that definitely happens, but that entire time in this volatile world is not given to, you know, the new leaders like us. And often that execution becomes the most, you know, derailed part of the overall strategy. And of course, I mean, we've discussed a lot of topics. Someone asked, okay, there's a lot of resistance from people, though they align maybe to the vision and direction, but they also lose focus in between to get that actual outcome and execute the things that we had agreed upon. Any snippets from your side with your vast experience on, you know, how do we look at that and take that forward?
Yeah. So again, good question. Thanks, Renuka, and good to connect back. I think the key is what I mentioned. It is still the leader's responsibility for successful execution. And the 5 E's I mentioned, if you don't have the right people, you have not equipped them to do the task, how can you expect that to be successful? So equipping becomes the first thing. Second thing is enablement, right? What are the tools we give, right? What's the point in, see, if the system is so, I still remember those days when the bandwidth is a problem, right? People are fast, but they're waiting for the screen to move. So you need to equip people and enable people with the right tools and all that. Encouragement and empowerment, all these things is the role of a leader, right? And maybe sometimes some of us on this call, we may not be in the role of a leader, but you can still do some of the things which I mentioned. Encouragement is something which everybody can do. The first and foremost thing is you need to have positive intent, right? One of the things I encourage people saying that, look, don't come with the problem, come with a solution as well, because you may have better ideas. And that's the best way to operate, because you get best of ideas because they know they are on the ground. So always never underestimate that. So even if you are not a leader, take the initiative, stay the positive intent. And it is very contagious because others will join in that positive thing. Let's find the solution, right? And sometimes you may not find the solutions. It is okay. At least you tried it, right? So again, there are never easy answers. I'm not giving this will work 100% of the time. It is hard work, but the results are better. Relationships are kind of kept intact. And more importantly, long term, you always win.
Yeah. Thank you.
There are a couple of more questions.
Question, Sushmita.
Yeah, Deepa.
Okay. Hi, Mohan. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I'm sure we all have a lot of gems to pick from what you shared. So, my question is around culture and leadership style. So, today's workforce, we see a lot of like multi generational workforce, right? And especially after COVID, we've also seen a drastic shift in working models as well. So, we have hybrid and on site and remote. So, is there like any, I would like to know, since you're a seasoned leader, your perspective or any approach that you had taken. If there has been any challenge that you had faced and or any incident that you could highlight, and how did you approach it? Because a lot of senior leaders, especially tenured leaders, they could have this conflict when it comes to balancing a legacy mindset, and you have the whole startup culture now, and you have the Gen Zs, and there could be a huge cultural shift. And our definition of values and beliefs and biases have also evolved with time. So, anything that you could share on this?
Yeah, great question again. Uh, the fact is, at least the companies I worked, because they're large companies, you do need to have both freshers to experienced people, right? What I've learned is it is so much of value in multi-generational work culture. It is about the leader. How do you really? And leader needs to go first. I remember one of the person I recruited, and she saw my gray hair and thought, here is going to be one of those whatever label they give, right? So we'll have that old mindset. And she said, how come you stayed fresh despite your donkey's years of experience? I said, look, I love hanging with young people. That's where I get energy from, because the freshers always have one, they don't have baggage. They have not gone through the life journey to kind of have become pessimistic. And that's the reason I hang with them, because they're very refreshing, no filters and all that. That energizes me. Okay.
Right.
The next level people are in their journey. They have experienced something and they have some needs as well. I can pass on a little bit of my wisdom, help, right? So they join the party as well. So I think, and there is a wisdom in people who are much more experienced, but my challenge with them is how can I really help them that you can learn from anybody and everybody. But this is my take, Deepa. And maybe in my case, I have 3 kids and I have raised them from young to now they're adults. They've gone through the teenager, because there is a practical homework that I went through, right? So you hear
Right.
that jargon, you hear their struggle. So that helps. Not everybody will have that. You don't need to go through that. I think this is my suggestion. Be lifelong curious to learn. And second thing you remember is you can learn from anybody and everybody. I've learned how to be and how not to be in every setting. I didn't tell you,
Mm.
first 17 years of my career, I had 19 bosses, 1 9. Either I moved or they moved. Okay. And I had bosses of all shapes and forms and sizes. Now, not only I've learned from, I told you about good bosses, but there are people how not to be. That is equally important, because
Right.
you don't want to really kind of do the same behavior. So I think there is so if you are open to learning, you can learn from every setting. I learned from in the airports, in every setting. That's what human behavior is all about. And that's what I mentioned. Ultimately, you are dealing with people, not machines. And
Right.
different and unique, and you need to do that. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I need
Thanks,
to answer
Deepa.
this question, Arshad. Sorry, Arshad, I didn't, sorry, I don't remember, but good to meet you. As I said, that my memory is failing me, but don't worry. If you never know when our paths will cross. But your question is, what is the most important risk you took in your career and was successful? I told you about this example where somebody believed in me more than myself. Obviously, that's a big risk. And I was successful not because I was great. I was successful because somebody pushed me into that, right? I found my true north in that role. Second question, do you regret on any decision? Never, ever. right? Did I make mistakes? Plenty of them, right? But they were not intentional mistakes. See, at the end of the day, Ashad, this is what I take, right? Leadership is sometimes thankless job. It is like this Supreme Court judges, right? The highest court. Ultimately, they need to make a decision. They are authorized to make a decision. They take all the information and they make a decision. Not everybody agrees with their decision, right? There is always this thing. Leadership is like that. You are given that position and the role and the authority to make decisions because organization trusts you can do that. And you do your best by taking all the information and make decision. At that point in time, it is still the right decision because at that point in time, you have taken all the information and you took the decision. Now, 5 of them will disagree, 5 of them will agree. You can't do anything about it. Now, later, one of the groups will be proven right? Because over a period of time, it turns out to be a bad decision or a good decision. Do I regret it? No. I will go back and see, okay, what is that I missed out last time in making the decision? Is it the circumstances will change? So that's how you deal with it. I don't think any one of us should be living in regret because a regret doesn't take you forward, it takes you backward, doesn't take you up, it pulls you down. It is just futile to regret, and I don't want to. Can I learn? Absolutely, because that takes me forward.
Lovely, Mohan. So the time is almost up. So there are a couple of questions in my direct thing, and I'll ask you like a rapid fire question. Okay, so you can give like really short answers so that they also get some snippet out of what they wanted to know from you. So somebody's asking, what is the in soft? So there is always a conflict between deadlines and focus on people. How do you balance that?
Yeah, I think can't give a short.
Yeah.
Right? I always ask the question, how did we arrive at the deadline in the first place? A lot of times it is not easy to arrive at, okay, how much time it takes. It is at best an estimate, and you get better at the deadlines over a period of time. So the deadline, is it realistic or not? Right? If you set unrealistic deadline, you're bound to fail. In the process, you are trying to push yourself and you are pushing the people, right? That's not going to give you any better results. It is going to give you artificial results. So a good leader, again, when you are setting up the deadline, ask the question, how did you arrive at this? Believe me, most of the people emotionally, they and including me, right? We underestimate the time it takes. And more importantly, we overlook the dependencies a particular task has. In some of the roles, the dependency is on somebody else. You have not consulted them. You don't know what time they need. And you arrived at this unilaterally and you get into trouble. So this is what I want to say is you need to really be a bit more careful in setting the deadlines to be realistic. It can be stretchable, but realistic. And then you will not get into trouble with the people. Otherwise,
Excellent.
always you compromise on people.
So you take responsibility as a leader to set the right deadlines. Yeah. And another question is, what advice would you have for new leaders who are just starting their journey as middle management?
You see, it doesn't matter whether middle or higher or the first. As I said, that my definition of a leader is, it is a influence process. This is what I want to, I think maybe for everybody. Again, Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great, talks about 2 qualities of level 5 leader, right? And you don't need to become a level 5 to try working on those 2 qualities. One is humility, second is resoluteness. These are the 2 qualities which will make you a good leader. I'm not talking about successful leader. What is humility, right? Again, take the focus off you. What is that I gain to? How you can help others? How can you serve others? How can you build others? That will keep you humble. The more you focus on yourself, the pride kicks in, the I keeps coming in, it puts off others as well, and you will not be successful. So humility is something which you need to pursue. There is never an end goal. The second thing is resoluteness is, I think that's what sports taught me, right? Sports not always gives you good results, right? Sometimes you fail, many times you fail, but you again get up and play again, right? You try again. So resoluteness is never give up and look into how can I solve the problem rather than who is the problem, right? So those are the two tips I would give to any budding leader that will really keep you on solid ground.
Lovely. And I think we are almost done with time. But one thing a leader should never do, Mohan, according to you.
Put others down.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Mohan. I think what I'm really taking, so often when in my workshops, I say, what did the Spider-Man say? Which is, with more power comes more responsibility, right? And in everything that you said, it sounded to me like as a leader, you have taken that responsibility in yourself to really hold a space of growth for everybody else who was working with you. So I almost feel like it's like such a great illustration of those words, with great power comes great responsibility, and somebody who really owns it. And thank you so much. I think this is so wonderful for all of us who are wondering about leadership and what it means to have heard from you these beautiful, beautiful words, very deep and profound. So I'm going to give the mic back to you, asking what is the one thing you want all of us to take away from this? There's a lot, but that one thing if you would want all of us to remember.
Yeah, I've said many things, but this is what I want to really call out, right? Our behavior comes out of what we believe, right? If you believe leadership is a privilege and a responsibility, which means you need to focus on others, which indeed is what I feel is leadership is all about. Put the organization and others ahead of you. And in the process, you will be super successful and you can sleep well at night.
That's the most important thing for sure. Thank you so much, Mohan. Very, very grateful for your time and your words of wisdom. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for being here, for asking so many wonderful questions, and for really making this a very enriching experience for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your kind words and being here.